came home from work. My babies was stuck in the stove.
Counsel, who I'll defer to in a moment, that they are now stipulating that Mr. Teel.
That moment showed a truth as old as the justice system itself. When the law moves slowly, emotion moves fast. And in the next case, that explosive emotion came not from grief, but from instability, confusion, and a sudden violent shift aimed at the one person trying to help. In Seattle, Washington, inside a King County courtroom, Christopher Teel sat beside his attorney for a competency hearing. Teel had been charged with first-degree sexual assault and unlawful imprisonment after following a woman into a dealership restroom and attacking her employees, overpowered him, and held him until police arrived. Now he was back in court, his mental state under review. Seated next to his attorney, Reed Birkeland, Teel seemed almost amused as the hearing began, watching the judge with a detached look that felt unsettling but not yet dangerous. He raised his arm toward Birkeland, prompting a deputy to gently guide him back. But then the judge kept speaking. Teel stared forward, and in an instant, everything changed. Without warning, Teel lunged sideways and punched his own lawyer in the head. The courtroom detonated into chaos. Deputies tackled him to the ground as the judge froze mid-sentence. A spit hood was pulled over Teel's head, and he was dragged from the courtroom, still thrashing, still shouting. At his next hearing, deputies took no chances. Teel was heavily restrained, and his counsel was replaced. The process continued with distance and caution. Eventually, he was sentenced to 8.5 years in prison for his charges. His courtroom outburst didn't help him, didn't sway the outcome, and didn't change the facts. But it revealed a truth about the courtroom. Control is not optional. When someone loses it, the entire room becomes unpredictable within seconds.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
When I just came home from work, my babies was stuck in the stove.
October 13, 2017, Atlanta, Georgia. Lamora Williams, 27, left her 2 sons, Keontae, 2, and Jacoby, 1, in an apartment while she ran errands. Breach occurred when Williams returned to find them dead. She placed their bodies in an oven, turning on the heat to destroy evidence. Education warns that child neglect escalates to fatal outcomes. Parental stress management and support services could prevent such desperation. The boys' bodies were burned beyond recognition, Williams later claiming a cousin did it, but her 911 call and behavior raised suspicions. In Fulton County Superior Court, laws under Georgia's felony murder statute, OCGA Section 16-5-1, mandated life for killings during child endangerment. The 2018 trial featured graphic photos and Williams's inconsistent statements. Consequences came when she was convicted of 2 counts of felony murder, sentenced to life without parole. Williams screamed, "I'm innocent," as the gavel fell, her denial ringing hollow. The boy's grandmother wept. They were my world. The courtroom, a place of unspeakable grief, stood scarred by Williams's betrayal. In December 2020, prosecutors alleged that Desean Brown murdered his then-girlfriend, 29-year-old Netosha Lattimore, inside her apartment on Melrose Avenue. What investigators uncovered next was devastating. After the killing, Brown allegedly dumped Netosha's body near the Purple People Bridge, and then took her 3-year-old son, Nilo Lattimore, and threw him into the Ohio River, alive. Despite exhaustive searches, Nilo's body was never recovered. The details prosecutors pieced together were chilling. They linked Brown to a body bag purchased on eBay, tied the movements of his vehicle to the timeline of the crime, and built a case around planning, concealment, and the deliberate disposal of evidence. He was charged with aggravated murder, tampering with evidence, and gross abuse of a corpse. The state made it clear. They were pursuing the death penalty. Netosha's father spoke to the press with a clarity sharpened by grief.
I would say to him, Deshawn Brown, you deserve nothing less but the death penalty.
Desean Brown deserves nothing less than the death penalty, no mercy at all. And inside the courtroom, another voice, quiet until it wasn't, carried that grief in a different way. At the back sat Tonio Hughes, Nilo's father. Dressed entirely in black, he waited silently as the hearing neared its end. Then, with no warning, Hughes rose from his seat, crossed the room with steady steps, and began punching the man accused of killing his child. The strikes were fast, fueled by a pain that words could never translate. Deputies sprinted to intervene, but Hughes kept fighting even as they wrestled him to the floor. It took half a dozen officers to restrain him. He was dragged away and later served 4 days in jail for contempt. Meanwhile, Desean Brown's trial is set for 2025.
My attorneys, it's the people that we're fighting for. That's the...
July 6, 2017, Gwinnett County, Georgia. Isabel Martinez, 31, woke her 5 children, telling them they were going to see Jesus. Breach was her use of a kitchen knife to stab her 4 youngest, ages 1, 6, 8, and 10, multiple times, killing 3 and wounding 1 before stabbing her husband, Martin, who survived. Education highlights that untreated mental illness in parents can lead to familial violence. Crisis intervention and family therapy could save lives. Martinez, suffering from schizophrenia, believed the children were possessed. In Gwinnett County Superior Court, laws under Georgia's malice murder statute, OCGA, Section 16-5-1, the 2018 trial featured Martin's testimony. She said they were going to heaven. Consequences were 5 life sentences with parole after 50 years. Martinez pleaded, "I'm not a monster," but the jury saw her delusion as no excuse. The courtroom, filled with the surviving child's trauma and family's sobs, became a space of fragile mercy. August 2011, Battle Creek, Michigan. Ashley Jessup, 24, breached motherhood by sexually assaulting her 10-month-old son, recording it, and sending the video to her boyfriend. Education stresses that child abuse thrives in secrecy. Mandatory reporting and digital forensics training could protect infants. The video was discovered by Jessup's ex, who alerted police. In Calhoun County Circuit Court, laws under Michigan's first-degree child abuse statute, MCL 750.136b, mandated life. The 2012 trial featured the horrific video, Jessup's denial crumbling. Jessup collapsed, screaming, "I'm not a monster!" The courtroom, a gallery of horror, echoed with the child's family's grief. And then there are defendants who don't break from grief or mental instability. They break because anger has always been the language they speak. That brings us to one of the most violent courtroom eruptions in recent years. In Australia, rugby player Jessy Rose stood before a judge after a hotel confrontation spiraled into a dangerous attack. Rose had gotten into an argument with another customer and grabbed them by the genitals, refusing to calm down even when security stepped in. He spit directly into the face of a security guard. One moment that changed everything. The guard tried to swing back but missed. Falling to the floor, Rose seized that moment. He grabbed a schooner glass and threw it directly at the guard's head, causing a depressed skull fracture that required extensive medical treatment. Rose was arrested and charged with reckless wounding. His lawyers argued he had changed. They said he had a steady job, a new relationship, and no violent incidents since that night. They begged for leniency. But the judge refused. The injury was too serious, the behavior too violent. Rose was sentenced to 14 months in prison, and that's when he snapped. He kicked open the dock door so violently that the entire courtroom froze. He stepped back, grabbed a chair, and hurled it with full force. Officers rushed him, one going to the floor as another got Rose into a headlock. His girlfriend screamed, begging him to stop, but the situation was well beyond control. Backup flooded the room. Rose was dragged out, still resisting, still burning with rage. And he didn't learn. 3 years later, he returned to court for threatening to spray a woman's home with bullets.